Alright, in this video we're going to be going over some strings and some pad sounds that I used in my new song called Sound Flux. And I'm making this video because it was a question that a few people asked me about, and I wanted to go ahead and get a video out there explaining what I did to create the sound. So I'm going to go ahead and play what it sounds like. Okay, that's what it sounds like. So I'm going to go ahead and play the first melody, which is what I actually started off with when I created the song. Alright, so this is the melody. It's pretty simple. And then at 41 it just loops over again. So all I did was created one set of the melody and then just copied and repeated it over and over again where I wanted it to play. The next thing I did was I created this other melody here, which you'll hear comes in and then gets louder. And then it gets quieter at the end. Okay, so if you notice down here, you'll see a whole bunch of little squiggly lines. So what I normally like to do is I like to record the modulation slightly before the area where the strings start, because a lot of times when you're recording, if you start the modulation right off where the actual bar plays with the music, it'll just jump right in, kind of how what you heard at the end, how it just jumped out of the modulation when I hit the stop button on my controller. So what I always do is I always record the modulation slightly before the actual track plays, just a little bit, because like I said, I don't want the sound to just jump in. I want the modulation to slowly build up the sound or change the frequency on the filter of that sound. So that's what I did here. I just started recording it, and then I used the modulation wheel on my Cortex 5 that I use as my main controller to actually bring in that sound to make it get louder and then to bring it back down. So I use the modulation wheel to do that. And again, I recorded it slightly before the actual track plays. So that way the modulation is already set to exactly where I want it when the strings come in. So that's why it flows nice and smoothly from really quiet. So I already started recording the modulation right here at this point. So now this is where the actual track started to play. So you can see my trance string modulation is overlapping the trance string bounce. And then it gets quieter. So let's take a look at the actual trance string bounce so you can see what it looks like. This is what it looks like. It's just down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then when you work with the modulation on that, it sounds pretty nice. So basically between 37 and all the way through this whole section of where this melody plays, the modulation is playing. The modulation starts actually at 37. So you can see right here all these little squiggly lines is the modulation where I was changing the modulation wheel, and then I brought it down to where I wanted it right at the end. so that's pretty much it. That's how I created the sounds in here for my song. So when I play these two together, they actually sound like pretty much like one sound, but they're not. Now to add a little bit more of effects or ambient sound to my song, I also included a sound from the Albino plugin, which is called Third Dimension, and I also used it for, and I don't know if I have it up here, but I may have it up here as well. Yeah, right here, Breeze Pad. So. And there's also another one here called Vocal Strings, which also gives a little bit more effect. And the last thing I used another little melody that kind of plays along with the strings. Okay, and this is pretty much the simple layout of that melody as well. So again, I used a lot of different elements to actually create the melody that you're hearing when the song plays, that all kind of layer together nicely. They all fit together like they're one sound when you hear the song. So so anyway, that is how I created the strings and the pad sounds. And if you have any other questions about it, please let me know. Please do subscribe, rate, and comment is very important. I love to hear people's feedback. Helps me improve my my channel. Also helps me with creating new videos. So please subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks.